So a financing contingency is something that protects you about in regard to getting your lending. So this is a big reason why sellers agents, even buyers agents, will call the lender and say, hey, where are they at in the process? Have they been through pre-underwriting? Like, where are we at? Because we want to make sure that like this loan is going to close. We don't, and sometimes things come up at the very end. That happened with our loan when we bought our house. We were able to navigate through it, but things do pop up at the end sometimes. So it's not always a 100% safeguard, but it is good to know if they actually have a pre-approval or a pre-authorization. If they have a pre-approval, you've called the lender, everything looks good, you want to submit an offer with a financing contingency. Essentially what that is saying is who the lender is that they're working with, if it's a first mortgage or a second mortgage. It talks about the actual loan type, because each loan type, VA, USDA, FHA, conventional, they all have different financing contingencies. They want to know the potential percentage for APR. They want to know how many years that the mortgage is going to be for, all these little details and nuances. In this, depending which type of loan type it is, you have dates that you have to put in, or a number of days. So like for conventional, you have to put in how many days that the financing contingency is set for. So a lot of times I see like 21 to 25. So essentially if they've already gone through like pre-underwriting and things like that, it shouldn't really take more than 3 weeks for them to get the clear to close or the okay from their lender that everything is smooth and we're good to go. But then there's also a portion in conventional that shows like how many days you have from when the appraisal comes in, if the appraisal comes back low, to be able to negotiate. Are we dropping price? Are we bringing cash to the table? Are we killing the deal? Whatever it is. So these numbers and dates are very, very, very important because they protect you as the buyer. In the event that you have to get out of a contract because of financing contingency issues, say you couldn't get the lending, say there was an appraisal issue and we couldn't come to terms, then you do, in the state of Georgia, receive your earnest money back. So within those first few days, if you handed over $5,000 for earnest money, you're actually going to get that back. Now, if you did a 21-day financing contingency and the issue was that you couldn't get the loan funded, then day 21, you have to make that decision. You have to say, I'm out, I can't get this done. Day 22, you can get out, but you're not getting your earnest money back. Now, if you're going FHA, that's different because their financing contingency is going to ask, what is the financing contingency length and period? That's going to be the same. But then they also want to know a little bit of extra information. Some of it isn't pertaining to insurance and things like that. But as far as the seller is concerned to how this would affect things, they want to know about repairs. So say an appraiser comes in and says, you have a 2-foot block of wood on the outside of your house that's not painted the same color as the house. And I use this example because this is exactly what happened to us. Then you need to have that fixed because we don't know if it could potentially cause wood rotting problems because clearly it's been a repair. We need it painted to the same color as the house to show us that it's not going to cause problems. I know, silly. However, what is in the actual exhibit for this, for a FHA financing contingency, is that either the buyer or the seller, you choose, the buyer or the seller is going to pay up to X dollar amount to resolve any issues as far as if the appraisal flags it. So in our case, just to make this simple, we agreed up to $300 that we would handle if there was any FHA appraisal issues. So we took care of the painting situation. So that's one little nuance about the FHA that's going to be different than your conventional. VA exhibits for financing contingency are going to be very similar to FHA. They're just a little more stringent with their appraisals. That's why there's these differences. Again, they're going to ask for all of the regular lending information. They want to know how many days that you're doing your financing contingency for. And then they too are going to ask who and how much is going to be taken care of if we pop back and say we need something fixed to ratify this appraisal. So basically they want to know, is it buyer or seller's responsibility and up to what dollar amount? You can select that the buyer pays it up to a certain dollar amount. You can do it from the seller side. You can do it from either side. It doesn't matter. But if a lot of times you'll see that the buyer is willing to take that on up to a small dollar amount, $300 to $500, because it usually is pretty small stuff, but they're usually willing to take that on because it makes your offer a little stronger because you're not asking the seller to come out of pocket for stuff. However, if you need to, and if you feel that it's warranted, you absolutely can ask the seller for that. What's interesting is there's even a financing exhibit for not financing. So this is used for our cash buyers. This is for people who have no financing skin in the game, so it's not necessary. But then also this is used for people who are financing but don't want the financing contingency. They're trying to basically make their offer stronger. This can be utilized. I don't love the idea of it because I love as many safeguards as for my buyers as I can get. But sometimes, like when COVID was happening and batshit crazy things were happening in the market, people did waive their financing. And essentially, this just states that it is what it is. Where people look at it is, and there's different nuances in this contract. However, the big one, the big ticket that everybody looks at least here in the state of Georgia, is that you do not get your earnest money back if this deal falls through for appraisal or financing. You waive that option, so now you're just out of luck that money. So if you dropped $5,000 in earnest money in the beginning, you're not getting it back if there's a financing issue. My name is Morgan with Morgan Rountree Realty. I help buyers and sellers all up and down the east coast of Georgia. If you have questions about this, if you want to know specifics about the certain individual contracts, let me know. Be happy to go through them with you and do a video individually to a little bit more nuanced as to what's in the contracts and how they work, and how you can leverage them.